some reason I was watching the game a bit, not much, and then I fell asleep. I think there's still 20 minutes left. Had to check the score at 4:00 this morning when I got up. I had a good 6 hours though. It was like amazing.
That's good. I got about 1 in the end, and I'm still pretty tired. But that's a good way to kick off the podcast, really. The match last night, right? Craig didn't watch much of it, so we'll get his opinion shortly. But Jimmy, you watched most of it, presumably, as you were calling the game.
Jimmy, you were great last night. So you know.
Oh, thank you.
You were really good last night.
I'm sure you were. I thought it was a really, really good way to end the season, the international calendar year, so to speak. Really good performance. Got some goals. Set pieces worked. Selections worked. If you're Jesse Marsh, Jimmy, I mean, you're really happy with the way this calendar year ended, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with that performance as well. He'll be ending the year looking at that, thinking that was a first-class professional performance. I thought the first half especially, I thought they were brilliant. Suriname couldn't even get out of their own half. They didn't even have a shot on target. And I thought the Canadians, the way that they pressed, being on the front foot, their movement on and off the ball, the creativity in that final third, I thought everything was really, really good. Even the set plays, the set pieces, I was worried about again, thinking, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to come up with something here, something a little bit different? They were playing short corners. They had free kicks that were out wide. Just creativity all over the place, which I thoroughly enjoyed and really, really liked it. And I was delighted with their performance. I thought it was a great showing last night. And the fans enjoyed it. They were right in the game as well. They had goals, lots of possession, the way that we played, the rhythm in the game. I really enjoyed it last night.
Craig, 13,239 made the trip to BMO Field, and good for them. I know Wong was saying we shouldn't be surprised by a poor turnout. It's November. It's Tuesday, not great weather. It's Suriname. I'm like, no, we want to be a freaking footy nation. We need to start packing stadiums no matter when. Where do you fall in this?
I would have thought that there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't even know the game was on. I mean, back in the day when, we at Sportsnet, not in working for them much anymore, but they would promote the game themselves. So then that would be, put out to the general public, and then tickets were bought like that. But I would imagine there was a lot of people out there who didn't know the game was on.
It's a valid point, I think, because I'm not sure if TSN covered it in the lead up. As rights holders to the World Cup, they may well have done. I don't know. But when mainstream TV starts covering build-ups to games, that's promotion in itself, right? With respect to One Soccer, as we discussed over and over, and hopefully it's going to change, that hasn't got distribution right now. So unless you have One Soccer, you're not going to see these stories. Or unless you subscribe to, I don't know, a daily podcast, you're not going to get, promotion for these games. And the money there isn't that much marketing money, presumably at Canada Soccer right now, to stick it down our throats. Hopefully that will change next year. And Jesse Marsh said that. It's interesting. Jesse Marsh post-match was saying, so he was asked, like, what are you doing now? What's the plan? You've no more games till March. There's going to be a camp possibly in January with the young players.
Yeah, I think he said the people in North America to make it an easy one. Like the players in North America, right?
But he said last night he's not sure that's even going to happen. So regardless, he said big part of his responsibilities now is raising funds, how to raise funds, being involved in that side of things, getting money. And that's going to be, obviously, should keep him busy, hopefully, because he hoped that private Canada wake up in January and realize that the World Cup is just over a year away and start throwing money at this organization so they can do things like market and promote.
Well, they're going to have to rely on that because we're one of the only countries, if not the only country in the world, where nobody pays for rights. All these other countries are making millions of dollars that they can put back in their programs. None of these guys. And then remember, TSN got this at an absolute bargain. They didn't even know the World Cup was coming to Canada, United States, and Mexico. And when that whole debacle about Russia and Qatar got the World Cups back to back, and the corruption around that, they basically said to the rights holders, you can have it at the same price as you're paying for Qatar. Well, all of a sudden, wow, it's a bargain. So they've saved it. They're going to make an awful lot of money off this World Cup. And be nice to see if they would put some money back in and actually do some good for the growth of it, because they're not doing it right now.
I was reading some business estimates, and just in the Toronto, Greater Toronto area, GHTA, Greater Hamilton Toronto area, they're guessing that it will be in that time zone when FIFA is here and the World Cup is here, over an injection of $260 million just in Toronto. So you could probably double that for Vancouver. So it's time to get involved. The time is now for businesses and sponsors to sign up and invest, whether it's NSL, whether it's Footy Prime, whether it's Canada Soccer, CSB, all that kind of stuff, because you're not going to be able to do it. And the prices are going to be so high at TSN that you're going to be left out. You're going to, the only companies that will be able to invest are the same ones we see all the time, the banks, the one beer company, all that kind of stuff.
I would recommend one also, if you want a piece of Footy Prime, get in now, because you won't be able to afford us in a year from now.
Oh my God. Jimmy will be demanding at least $68 per broadcast.
100%.
Do you want to put your phone number out there for be sponsors, Wonger?
Yeah, give us a call.
Or info
416
at wearefootyprime.com.
There you go. Go to wearefootyprime.com. Click on email us at footyprimepodcast@gmail.com. You want to talk?
Info at wearefootyprime.com. Either one.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
The Gmail will be seen first, probably. But anyway, we're waiting for you. We're waiting for the phone calls. And please hurry. Craig needs internet.
Fred.
Back to the game. Marsh said, I love this. He was asked in one sentence, kind of encapsulate where we're at, what we are now as a men's national football team. And he thought about it, and he's so good, right, Marsh? He goes, it'll be, we are no longer the underdog. That's the message he wants to send around the world. And Craig, we've seen that against some of the best teams in world football, Canada, hanging in there. And okay, you're not going to be the favorite against an Argentina or a Uruguay, but they hung in there, and they're beating teams that they're supposed to beat, right? And within CONCACAF next year to the Nations League semifinals, okay, the bookies might have the States as favorites, but Canada will not believe they're the underdogs in that match, for example. No,
we're right in there. I don't think any country, including Argentina, would want to really come up against Canada. Remember, Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia in the opening of the World Cup as well. This is a team that is playing with full of confidence, and we're peaking. I hope not too early, because the excitement around this team should be incredible, because what they're doing is really special, and the coach has got to be credited for that too. Jesse Marsh, who, I was talking about months ago about not, before he was hired, not wanting an American, but whatever. This guy has been absolutely bang on with everything he's done, the messaging, the way they're playing. He's got some great players to work with, of course, but it's an exciting time. And going into this World Cup, there's expectations, certainly for myself. And I think, Jimmy, you'd be the same. If you're playing with a team like this, there's something really special brewing, that they could potentially do something massive. And remember, it's a 48-team World Cup too, so you got to think they're going to get a bit of a soft touch in the opening group. But then when they get out of that, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, it's exciting group. It really is. I love the way that they play, and just everybody's bought into Jesse's style of play, his philosophy. And it's always difficult as well as a player initially buying into a new coach's style of play or philosophy, because if you don't see a little bit of success, then you kind of turn off it a little bit and think, you know what, this is not working. But you could see the way that they're playing, how they press, where they win the ball in good areas. The players see this is successful and it's rewarding, and they're buying into what he wants. And it really is an exciting brand of football. I enjoy the way that they're playing. And for me, this squad, I'm sure they've got it in the back of their heads that they have enough within that locker room to win a Gold Cup. I'm sure they'll be thinking, we get to this Gold Cup, we're going to win this. They shouldn't be thinking of anything else, because I do think that they're the best team in CONCACAF right now.
They play Mexico in the semifinals in March, and they will be the favorites in that one, given the state of Mexican football right now. Doesn't mean it's going to be an easy one, and doesn't mean it could go either way. Of course it could. But
who are the semifinalists, Sharms? Who are the semifinalists?
The States and Panama.
States and Panama.
In LA in March. So if we can get a sponsor, maybe we can be in LA in March, boys and girl. Let's aim towards that, because I want to cover this thing. It's going to be huge. Like you said, this is a chance for a trophy, a legitimate chance for a trophy. I was listening to Strikers Corner. Felt like I was betraying our podcast, but Strikers Corner is the John David, Carl Laren podcast. They dropped another one a few days ago. It's actually shaky head. I know how could they? I
saw the man Eustachio on. I'm like,
it was really good. Actually, it was a really
of course
good interview. And JD, John David, is actually a decent host. He's coming a long way. But still, don't listen to it. I'll just, but they were talking about, trophies and how important it is for this team. And Eustachio, it's interesting. You guys are like this. So Eustachio is saying, listen, we're the best Canadian team ever. We've shown that. And John David refuted that. And so did Carl Laren. Said, listen, wait a minute here. Like, we haven't won anything yet. That 2000 Gold Cup team deserves a lot of credit. And Eustachio goes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. We haven't won anything yet. Yep, Copa semifinals, World Cup qualifications, great and all, but you want silverware. And once they get silverware, let's have that conversation. But they brought you guys up and said, let's give complete respect to that group of players for getting that far, Craig, which I thought was a nice touch. But they're pretty damn good, aren't they? Let's not kid ourselves.
Holy shit, man.
Copa semis, World Cups, and now just putting away teams with relative ease that they should.
Yeah. And something else too that they're not going to make public. But if I'm part of that team as well, it's like, fuck just the Gold Cup, the Nations League. Let's go for the big prize. Like, seriously, let's rock this thing and try to win the fucking World Cup. I mean, I know it's just what the mindset of this team should be, and I believe it is.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, Jimmy, they're talking about doing something really, really special, and there's no doubt about it. That's a conversation that they're having.
Yeah. And for me, what I do like is there's an awful lot of games with this national team. So the more that these guys continue to play together, the more they gel, become cohesive, and they get that confidence and belief that they think, yeah, we can win this. And that's why it's so important, the national team, that you play an awful lot of games, because it really means an awful lot to the squad coming together as one. If you're only playing a couple of times a year, you don't have that bond, you don't have that relationship and understanding when you're on the pitch. But you can see every game they continue to get better and better. The movement, the passing. I was watching the left side yesterday with Schaffelberg and Larea. It's like that. It's like they've played together for the last 10 years. Right. But that's because, the more games that they get a better understanding of each other's habits and movements. And you can see it all over the park. So you're right, Craig, when it comes to a World Cup, and if they continue going the way that they're going, why not? Why not say, yeah, we're going to go for this?
Well, you look at what happens in tournament football all the time. The unbelievable happens more often than you think. You go back to see when Korea performed very well as a home nation as well. You've seen Saudi Arabia beat Argentina in the opening of the World Cup.
Well, Morocco last year.
Morocco,
right?
And a country that punches well above their weight, Croatia, for the size of them. So why can't we do something like that? Pull off something that at least get, semifinals isn't out of the realm of possibilities. Let's get it right.
And let's not rule out the power of the home field advantage too, right? At a big tournament. It's massive. Even when they move to the States, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
For the comfort level for this team and the fan bases. Do you think, though, Jimmy, that they do need to get that big scalp under their belt? Really importantly. It's going to be in a friendly, probably. they're going to start attracting some really, really top quality teams. They are already. We've got Netherlands and France last year, for example.
Yeah, and they competed against these teams.
They competed, yeah, but do they need to beat one of them before you get the complete buy-in? Okay, this team is actually a legitimate force to really upset some people.
Yeah, look, I think they've already got the buy-in, but it does help with the motivation and confidence to beat one of those big teams like an Argentina, like a France or a Holland. But there's no doubt in my mind that those days are coming. Those days are going to come, and they're going to come very soon.
With a bit of luck, they could have beat Belgium in the opening of the World Cup too.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It reminds me of our pod with Alistair Johnston when he said, "Fuck it, we're Canada," right? Which we are going to put it on a T-shirt, Alistair, and we're going to use your face. So sue us. But there is that level of you have to have. Jimmy talked about the belief, but it's almost an audacity, right? Like we have to be audacious in our dreams and our hopes and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're Morocco going into the World Cup, that's how they had to think. Every match, we had to think we are going to be in the Final Four of the World Cup and maybe have a chance at winning it.
I mean, you need a little bit of luck as well, of course.
Absolutely.
But most teams do, including Argentina.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, there's a number of things that have gone against Argentina.
Yeah.
Including the amazing save in the final.
Right.
Yeah. People forget about that, right? In big matches and big tournaments, and you celebrate the champion, but you forget how close they came to losing. How many shootouts did champions go through over the years, right? And find a way. Right?
Yeah, it's not a 36, 38 game league season. It's a tournament. It's much different, and crazy things happen all the time.
Even the great Spain teams, right? 08, 10, 12. Brilliant. Probably the best, most dominant international teams we've seen.
Yeah.
But they won games by 1 goal. These were not blowouts, right? In most of these tournaments, they had a system. They got up. They held that lead. And I'm not saying they weren't the best and that deserve the accolades. They do. But that's how they did it. I mean, 1 goal, 1 goal swing could change everything.
But that's good teams find a way to win. They find a way to win. And you're right. Maybe they win 1-0. It might not be pretty, but it's just one play, one movement that wins that game for you. One set piece. Good teams know how to win. And
even the Suriname team, Jimmy, I mean, I know we know it's Suriname and where the ranking is and all that, but, you know, we talked about this before this 2-game stint with this side that, you know, they're not pub players. These are players, or most of them are born in Holland. They played in youth levels for the Dutch national team. So like we said before, the teams are organized, and it's also tough to break those teams down. And we generally aren't in the position. Geez, I don't even remember ever us being in a position, maybe against Bermuda, where we actually dominated in trying to break teams down and break them down playing in a phone booth.
Yeah.
We're not used to that, but this team is absolutely all over it. And the coach of Suriname said, listen, the pressing was unbelievable. We just didn't have it in us, and the pace of the game just wasn't, we're just not at that level.
No, it's true, because look, I mean, there was talk about the first match down in Suriname, and look, Craig, we know firsthand what it's like playing away in CONCACAF. End up getting 1-0, and people are like, maybe the performance wasn't great. I was like, no, bollocks. You just going down there, get the win, and get the hell out of there. The game when you come back to Toronto is going to be completely different now. On grass, the climate was better for us. The weather was better it suited us. It was a bit cool, a little bit of rain. These guys are used to playing in that weather over in Europe. And you could see the tempo of the match, the quality was so much different than what it was at Suriname. We just dominated that game.
Yeah. And they got on their body clock is also caught up to themselves with the time change. I don't think there was much down in Suriname, but the actual travel, I mean, that's a long travel down there.
Oh, it is. You know, the other thing too, what we got to keep in mind, I think, is that in the last 24 games or something like that at BMO Field, we've only lost once. Like they're turning that into a fortress, this stadium. And we only lost to Jamaica. Remember that game where we were up, what was it, 2-0 or something like that?
Yeah,
halftime.
Oh, that was horrible.
Right.
but that's the only match that we've lost in like the last 24. Which is
in the last 3 games, they've given up 2 shots on target in the last 3 matches.
Well, I'd say just watching Moise Bombito again last night. I know he wasn't that busy, but he's just class, Jimmy, isn't he? Like he's the ball dies in his boot because the attack dies in his boot. The opponent's attack. That's really clumsily.
I saw Jason Bent last night, and he actually came up. He was up because he's working with the national team, and
he's a community coach, isn't he?
So he actually came into the studio where we were calling the game, and the first thing he said to me, he goes, "Bambito," he goes, "he is unbelievable." He goes, "Jimmy," he goes, "I knew he was good, but when you actually see him in person and watch him train and play," he goes, "This kid is the real deal." He goes, "The sky's the limit for this guy." He goes, "He's going big time." So that was wonderful to hear because we were all thinking that, but hearing that from Jason Bent as well, who's been in the national team and working right now with LA Galaxy, he knows and can identify players, and he knows a superstar in the making when he sees one.
Dubs is going to lose her shit because there's all these Quebecers. All she's going to talk about is regionality and development for Quebec because we know how biased she is.
And the Maritime Messi, don't forget.
Oh, who doesn't love Schaffel? Schaff.
Like in the post-game mixed media zone, he's talking, and he's just a regular dude, right? He's living this dream right now. That will change. He'll realize, what he's doing. But it's been so quick, that rise, and he's also so self-deprecating. He said, "Listen, I had a really terrible club season. That was terrible, but internationally, it's been something else, right?" But he's still kind of living that dream. I love that kind of innocence, not quite realizing where he's at, because he'll get a move at some point too. I mean, roller
coaster career, right? Like, hey, we're shipping you off for some pennies and some Dominoes down in Nashville from TFC, your home club, one of your home clubs.
Not good enough. Not good enough. TFC. Nope.
Get the fuck out.
Jesus.
I'm Bob Bradley.
Everyone. I love that. That
Bill Bradley
story. Bob Bradley.
Bob and Bill.
There are late developers though. Yet there's a lot of players that maybe get overturned. I mean, look at Owen Hargreaves when he was younger. He said the CSA didn't pick him, but I mean, sometimes you're looking at players and what you have, and they're not thinking about where you're going to be in a few years. They're thinking about that moment, and sometimes they overlook players that turn into great players when they're older.
You should never, though. You should never. But it just not in this small a country.
It just seems TFC overlook a lot of players.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, what have they developed? Really, coming out of their youth system, they put millions into that youth system. They got a beautiful setup, training center, and not a lot coming out of it.
Well, I mean, when they do develop players, then they're thrown into this dysfunctional era. And you see the DeAndre Kerrs and the Cozy Thompsons and these players maybe stymie their development in that environment, maybe. But hey, listen, let's not get into TFC. By the way, Insigne reports yesterday I saw maybe in his way to Saudi or Qatar, but I don't know what the source was. I'm not going to get into it, but who knows? It made a lot of TFC fans. Really? There's a way out of this. But back to Canada. I was speaking to Josh Cloke yesterday, and Josh wrote a great article. If you haven't read it yet, in The Athletic, basically he was flying the wall reporting during the Suriname trip. It's really interesting. But he was talking about Jesse Marsh and how he basically got the job and what he kind of pitched to Canada Soccer. Essentially, how he said technically can't do that much with this group of players. When I see them 4 or 5 times a year, but this team is athletic. This team is quick, and we can use that to our advantage, and we can destroy teams physically. And we're seeing that, Jimmy. He said yesterday, he goes, this is more than likely that the quickest, fastest team he's ever coached. And we're seeing that the swarm press. We're seeing the use of the flanks. We're seeing that this team terrifies opponents. Schafferberg was
what's Craig doing?
I don't know. What are you doing, Craig? Asking is another. He keeps McDonald's in business. That guy, Jesus.
There's not much left, and it's cold from 4 o'clock. But
Iced coffee
We're
now.
seeing you put your head down. We think it's like autoerotica or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on up there?
But Jimmy, we're talking about, the various components. Schafferberg's asked, are you the quickest on the team? He goes, well, Fonzie's quicker than me, but I'm pretty quick. I mean, as a coach, when you look at the tools available, and we're not saying they're, going to necessarily win World Cups right now, obviously, but they got some pace, and pace kills, doesn't it?
The pace is absolutely ridiculous on that team. It's no wonder Jesse said it, that is the fastest team he's ever seen. Just watching them when they get going and they start going forward. I mean, you look down the left side, you had Larea and you had Schaffelberg. I mean, that Van Helderen, that right back after the first 3 minutes was just looking around at his teammates going, I can't believe how fast this guy is, when Schaffelberg just blew by him. And then 5 minutes later, he blew by him again.
Yeah.
And I think the only time that Van Helderen was kind of content was when Schaffelberg got subbed. And that was only like 10 minutes left in the match because he was exhausted. He was chasing shadows when Larea and Schaffelberg were coming in down that line. And now let's not forget, you still got Alfonso Davies down that left side. And then on the right side, Ahmed is just as quick. Allison Johnson is quick. Kyle Laren, Jonathan David, like there is pace all over. Tejan Buchanan. The pace is off the chart on this team. And it's exciting.
Isn't that the most intriguing part of this? Looking forward, Jimmy, a few months now. That right side really I find interesting. When Tejan gets back to full fitness and in hits form. Ali Ahmed, great for Canada. Not the best domestic season, but we know what he can do. If he finds his form. What happens on that side of the pitch? Because I think on the left we kind of know what this team looks like. In the middle is interesting with Soignier looking much better yesterday. Coney comes out, in comes Soignier, set pieces look much better. But that right hand side to me is something that there might be a question mark there still, how that is going to look in the next year or so.
Yeah, it's what's going to be the best combination down the right side. I mean, Alistair Johnson at right back for me.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done. But it's going to be who's going to be in front of him. In the middle of the park, I thought Soignier and
Soignier played well.
Stegro were absolutely brilliant. I thought they just dominated. They controlled. They kept the rhythm in the game, those two. I really like that partnership of Soignier and Stacchio. And don't keep in mind, you still got Kone as well. And Kone's a fantastic player. That can come in there and step up.
So a competition for spots, right? Everybody's got their standard to play.
Well, I wanted to talk about that depth-wise. So, Jimmy, I saw Kone come on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a dick. I had forgotten about Kone because last match he didn't play, or I don't know about last Suriname, but he was injured or came in, but he's kind of quiet on the
he got hurt
Canada men's national. Yeah,
he hurt for Marseille.
Yeah, he was injured, right, at Marseille, right? So all of a sudden he's in. I'm like, holy fuck, we're deep. That is what struck me. Like, to Craig's point, the competition at every position all of a sudden is something probably you guys never experienced in your international life, professional life.
No. Really?
Yeah. No, not international. Club level, yes, but not international. We didn't have the depth that these guys have now. The thing is too, I mean, you've even got Richie Larea who's putting pressure on the left backs and right backs.
Yeah, exactly. And remember Sam Adekubi?
You got Sam Adekubi as well, another left-sided player. It's crazy.
Nico Siga comes on to replace Johnston, right? He's a legitimate player, legitimate. As Jesse Marsh goes, he's got that Croatian savvy about him.
And even at center back now, you got that Knight LaBelle, and they love him at Bristol City.
Big boy, isn't he?
They love him. Big kid. He's got a massive upside, this boy.
Was that his international cap? Did you?
Yeah.
Well, Kamal Miller started yesterday, and it was nice to see him back in the fold, right? Obviously, Cornelius is out hurt right now. But even though Kamal got just destroyed yesterday, he's a hurting unit this morning. You can tell that much. But it's good to see him back in there, right? Again, a guy that was instrumental to the World Cup qualifying and kind of lost his way a little bit. And he might not be a starting center half. Maybe he can regain that form.
Yeah,
probably
we always wondered about that center back. You know, the two center backs. I was like, we need to find somebody, and
it's a strength now, isn't it?
Did we ever? Yeah, it is. It's one of the most solid, sort of with Cornelius, and it's quite something.
I don't want to talk about him too much because we've mentioned his name, but Larea, even defensively, Jimmy, he came back talking about his pace. He outran a dude who had the angle on him, and you even said he put his back to him, and then he got fouled, and it just like speed kills, but it also saves, right? If you are half a pace, half a step in behind, all of a sudden you're able. I've seen Alphonso Davies do it.
Oh yeah,
but Larea can do it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it gets you out of trouble. Right, and that's why
sometimes relied on it all the time.
I relied on it all the time, but I would. No, it's true. Like I would look at it and think, I can cheat. I can cheat here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can push up a little bit forward, knowing that I'm going to get back and get this guy in time.
Yeah,
and that's what ends up happening. That's why I see Richie Larea. Sometimes you see him drifting out, getting out of position because he knows that's not a problem. That ball goes over top. I've got the pace to get back in.
Yeah.
Now, if you're playing against a player just as quick as you can't.
Right.
No chance.
Yeah.
You got to rethink what you're going to do. But if you know that the guy doesn't have the pace that you have, you can cheat a little bit in certain positions.
Who do you see, Jimmy? You see the most of in you on that pitch. Like, who would you compare yourself to? I've always wondered that with the team now. Who do you go, oh, that guy played like me. That guy has a lot of something like I had, that with the same strengths, the same weaknesses.
Probably Ronaldo when he was playing out wide.
I thought so. Your vertical was 72 inches.
Yeah, I thought I saw a lot of myself.
I think we all thought that, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Dennis.
No, I don't. I'm probably maybe Schaffelberg. Schaffelberg, the way he plays, he's quick, wants to take players on, get down the line, get balls in the box.
Without the finish.
Yeah.
A likable rogue.
Yeah.
Richie, we know we have Richie in the show. He's brilliant, lovely guy. But what a dick he is on the pitch.
Oh my God.
That kick out and he did the old rolls. I'm like, oh God.
Have you ever in your life seen a player that can draw a foul like Richie Larea?
He's the best. World class.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You just know what's happening. As soon as he'll just put his front foot in front of the opposition, and he gets that contact, and the way that he flops down just draws it every single time.
I'm so glad that we have that player. Even though I hate that player, I love Richie, but I hate that type of player. I'm so happy that we have that type of player because we haven't had them in the past. Right? Yeah. A guy that can go and do the bullshit shithousery that everyone else does and get and benefits from. Now we have that guy.
Yeah. Well, Alistair Johnson's like that too. He's probably an 8 out of 10 because he probably could have sold the headbutt a little bit more than he did.
Yes. Yeah.
But he wouldn't be able to live it down in Scotland.
No, exactly. Listen, I got to jump soon, boys. But I just want to say, I wrote about this a while back, but we're very positive right now, and people will mock us for this. Are you idiots? You think you can go well final? You know what? We're allowed to have this. We're allowed to enjoy this moment. We're allowed to enjoy this time in Canadian football, right? It's good. We've got a good team. We've got a World Cup coming home. So if we don't like it, fuck off. That's simple. And that should be the mentality of all Canadian fans. Let's freaking embellish and exaggerate and dream about what could happen in our country in a couple of years' time. Because, man, I haven't seen a team like this ever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, Sharman, if you don't think you can win it, you never win it.
Yep.
So might as well believe in yourself.
Yep.
Never know what can happen.
And to our listeners and our followers and our viewers, give Andrew James Sharman this moment. It's all for him.
Yes. So thank you.
It's all for Sharms.
Finally. Jaded, cynical sports fan that I am, I'm allowed this moment. Okay.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
20 years of nightmare. We would have thought this would have happened in our lifetime.
I know,
You know, 10 years ago, we would have just been like, not a chance.
Well, the
Not
ex-players
a
like you guys. I mean, I'm joking about myself. This is about you guys. This is about the ex-players who freaking did sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whatever.
Yes, it's all about you, Craig.
Whatever.
Take it.
We did sacrifice a bit, but it was the best time of our lives. Every trip, win, lose, or draw, it was amazing.
There you go.
You heard that on the most important podcast in the world.
What's that, Wonger? Say that again.
The most important podcast in the world.
What's that, Kevin
Footy
Blue?
Prime is the most important podcast in the world.
There we go. All right, I gotta go. Are you guys sticking around?
No, we're gonna go.
All right,
Yeah.
that's a good little chat. Positive. It's nice that without Dub's cynicism on the podcast, we can be happy and jovial.
Yeah, she's cutting players as we speak.
And it's a smile on her face.
She's gonna be upset. You know how empathetic Dubs is, eh? Can you imagine her? It's more painful for her to cut you than it is. Like, I don't know how she'd do it.
Hey, Mary Sue, can we have a chat? I got something to tell you.
That's one of the reasons I didn't get involved. That would be the hardest part. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. Breaking hearts, dreams.
Follow, comment, follow. Say our YouTube. One of our YouTubes just got a few thousand, but it's more than we've had in a week or so. So it's interesting to me. Our subscribership. Please follow us on YouTube. Like, comment. We've got a lot of great comments, and we'll be doing a comment show. So go out of your way. We're also on Blue Sky now, Twitter. Give us a follow. We're worth it.
And tomorrow, Carl Lang joins us, and Ricardo Pascal from York United, talking about a bunch of stuff, CPL and domestic football. So, until then, thanks very much. Cheers for listening or watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Laters.